when I look over the past 7.5 years, I think very much to the credit of the way we've been able to work with industry and the overall commitment within the authority, we have a lot to show. There have been so many milestones from just completely restructuring the NSC, bringing in new systems, a whole new spectrum of new products that have been introduced. It's very hard to say one thing, but I would, if I have to contextualize, it would probably be in terms of the tenure master plan. Our ability to really bring the whole industry together to agree on a common strategy for what we want to achieve for Kenya, I think has been very instrumental in helping everyone else align themselves to ensure we all speak with a common voice. To narrow it down to one thing, it would be the fact that we're able to bring people together around a 10-year capital markets master plan that has set a very clear direction for the market and allowed all the different players to effectively align themselves to ensure that we're moving progressively towards really positioning Kenya as an attractive investment destination. Definitely for 5 years in a row, being recognized as the most innovative capital markets regulator was something we celebrated very often in the authority, because you don't often associate regulators with innovation. So that we're able to build a culture within the institution that is committed to supporting innovation, supporting responsiveness, was very, very positive. And I think the other award that was very encouraging for me is the number of awards we received as a top employer. Because once again, you do not think of public sector institutions as being recognized as highly attractive, you have to be honest, employees, employment destinations. And to have been recognized as a top 3 employer in 2016 and one of the top 10 employers across the country by FKE. We have seen very proactive engagement over the last few years to try and increase the number of products available, but the level of uptake, I think whether it's in terms of issuer understanding of the opportunity, but also in terms of our intermediaries' capacity to sell capital markets in the current environment where there's excess liquidity in the market, in the banking markets, there's a lot of private equity funding around. We have not really been able to position ourselves in terms of the value proposition. Why come to the capital markets rather than access the very significant liquidity that's currently in the banking and private equity sectors? Having been able to upgrade market infrastructure for us is actually the product of a multi-year journey. So that really has created a new foundation for this market to move to the next level. That our trading system at the NSC and the settlement infrastructure at the CDSC are now world-class means that there's so many more things we can do, so many more products that can be introduced. The authority then implemented now our regulatory sandbox strategy, which is us creating a safe space for new ideas and new thinking about how we can deepen and diversify the capital markets in Kenya, being able to come and be tested in a safe space. Whether by new players or by incumbents, it allows us to start challenging maybe even some of the areas where the legal framework is not facilitated enough, or has not made any provision, and start building a structure that can allow new creative ways to promote access or facilitate investment to come to bear. We're very excited about that. Within the next few weeks, we should actually have our first graduation from the sandbox. So a solution that was able to come in, be tested, work through all the challenges in terms of risk management and investor protection, and then now roll out to full operationalization. That will then send a very clear message to both investors about the opportunity, but also to solution providers that the sandbox works. We have been tried as much as possible to adjust the regulatory framework to be created as conducive an environment. One of the very significant steps we took was the introduction of what we call principle-based approval powers. So those significantly shortened the historical time it would take to produce new laws, introduce new products. which could take anywhere from 2 to 5 years sometimes, to something we're able to, for example, with policy guidance notes on green bonds, on exchange traded funds, securitization, or even for most recently the sandbox. In a matter of months, we're able to engage industry, build a fit for purpose legal framework, and allow products to start operating. Some of the hope of the sandbox is even you'll have incumbent players being able to see some of the great ideas that are out there. And they'll be able to then have more engagements in terms of a new player may have an idea, but they do not have the infrastructure, the networks to be able to move that to the next level. But through testing through the sandbox, they can build that visibility that then now incumbents who have the tools, but not necessarily the ideas, to match those together and bring to market these solutions in a much more accelerated manner. And in terms of really significantly extending the reach of these solutions to a much wider spectrum of market players. Over the past few years, we've been trying very proactively as a regulator to try and expand our use of technology. So even with the most recent University Challenge experience, we had electronic, online-based examinations, engagement, registration processes. We've been using, once again, online and mobile tools to run, be it scavenger hunts to increase information, or even other kinds of outreach and education platforms. But that notwithstanding, I think what's become very clear is until we are coming forward with a much more coordinated financial education strategy that cuts across the whole country, and that is not just about the capital markets, then we might be able to start seeing the full fruits. Unless you have, pensions, insurance, and banking system, and strategies that are really supporting long-term savings, and then those savings can then be deployed into the capital markets. I think we'll continue to see certain challenges in seeing the full value or impact of many of the strategies we're putting together. And we actually have just finalized work on a detailed policy submission to the National Treasury in terms of encouraging them to champion the establishment of a national financial education and engagement platform that can bring all the players together to help drive greater impact. The introduction of the new Code of Corporate Governance has importantly provided a very critical tool to help issuers understand what the expectations of them are in terms of corporate governance. I think we've moved from a historical compliance checkboxing type of thinking to really giving issuers and more importantly the boards of those issuers the tools to understand what are the key governance principles that they should be applying, and then allow them to take ownership of that and translate those principles into the way their businesses operate. We have now published 2 annual reports on the state of corporate governance in Kenya, which is providing a very useful baseline for tracking how issuers are internalizing the new code, as well as improving their practices in terms of overall governance. And we're very happy just last week to re-engage stakeholders around the use of the stewardship code, which was also issued to support the Code of Corporate Governance, but will then now empower institutional investors to be able to play a much more proactive role in engaging issuers in terms of their governance practices, how they're approaching strategy and strategy execution. So we can see an overall improvement of delivery of value to the underlying investors in this country. Absolutely. If anything, I can say the enforcement track record is a product of the board's commitment and the technical team's drive for excellence. And so I have absolutely no question that that trend will continue strongly. I think as we see the continued challenges we're facing in terms of market development, product uptake, there are strategic decisions that will need to be made around the types of enforcement actions that are taken, so that we are not only sending out a clear message that we are a strong regulator, but that we are also presenting the balanced view that we are nonetheless a responsive market developer.
Okay.
And I think this is a challenge that is posed even to the media. It really has been the level of judicial intervention, that we have taken a number of actions, that we have seen individuals have been able to go to courts, secure injunctions, that have delayed the final determination of matters for a very long time. And ultimately, in terms of building investor confidence that the rule of law works and that enforcement will be served, I think that we will need to continue to work with the judiciary to make sure that there is an understanding of the public interest considerations that need to inform when injunctions are granted, against what those injunctions can be granted, to make sure that we're creating a positive environment where those who are accountable can be held accountable, but it's done in a manner that respects their rights, respects natural justice, and respects the Constitution.